Well, today I'm going to start putting this 3-liter Nissan engine back together. I haven't been out here for several days due to some other conflicting things that I opened my mouth at and got stuck doing. Not that it was a big deal, but helped somebody out who committed himself to replacing a rear main seal on a 2004 Chevrolet truck with a 5.3 in it. And he was asking me questions about it. It was 4-wheel drive, and he was telling me he was going to go ahead and pull the transmission transfer case back a little bit, and then just put a rear main seal in and be done with it. And I said, well, I am sure that is doable somehow if you have a lift and you know some of the ins and outs. I said, but what I have learned about those LS setups, and anything that has a torsion bar front end on the Chevrolets anyway, you have to separate the transmission transfer case to get it to where it'll even slide back far enough you can get your hand up in there. Because the 4L60Es that came out, or 4L65s, whatever you want to call them, that came out in the LS-based engines, bottom 2 bolts of your transmission bolt to the oil pan. There is no little splash shield that you can take off and possibly reach up inside there to help you get space. That does not remove. The bell housing is completely round like the old, most of the other people engines that being built with Ford or Dodge or whatever. So when I explained that to him, I said, if you're going to pull them apart and separate them, you have to pull, there's a adapter between the transmission transfer case, and you can easily get the gasket from the transmission to the adapter, but you cannot get the one gasket from the adapter to the transfer case. You have to order that offline. I had to do it twice, maybe 3 times on that Avalanche. Nobody carries that one around this area. I've tried, I've looked it up. I could find a part number, and I actually found one for O'Reilly's, I believe it was, and I took it in with my phone, showed him the number, he punches it up, not available. So even though it showed up on their website, I ran into that with AutoZone too, not just them, so I'm not complaining about it. But either way, I told him, I said, to be honest with you, it's probably easier to pull the engine out of those than it is to do that. Besides the fact, what if you pull it out and find out it was the oil pan leaking? Then you're going to have to pull that engine either way. I don't think you can pull that oil pan on 4-wheel drive without pulling that cross member. Well, then he shows up, and it's got a 6-inch lift on it, which he did not tell me to begin with, so I told him I'd help him do it. And because I have a cherry picker and a flat driveway. Well, it only took us, we worked on it for about 4 hours on Monday, and it took us pretty much 12-14 hours on Tuesday, but we got it completely done. Pulled the engine, put a rear main seal, ended up putting an oil pan gasket, found a broken motor mount, and luckily I had one off this spare engine I bought over here, and so we put all that on. I put it back in. Guy showed up. He was happy. It's not leaking anymore. I had 277,000 miles on it, which I'm surprised it was all. It actually sounded pretty good. But he was trying to get 300,000 out before he traded it off, and I understand that. Well, guy's kind of down on his luck, and he said, well, you want any money for this? I said, no. I said, don't worry about it. I don't mind helping out. I did give him some of my oil. I said, I'd like my oil replaced. This is Mobil 1, which he brought back the next day. He brought me a full 5 quarts of Mobil 1 synthetic. Anyway, so, but what he did do, because my creeper was done, he brought me a creeper he had, and he brought me a porta cable impact driver with a charger and a battery. Now, let me go get it. I left it back here. I don't know why. I was taking something apart the other day. And I've never had one. I've seen it used, of course, many times. My dad uses them. I've seen them on many car shows. And I used it the other day to pull something apart. That's 20-volt lithium porta cable. Boy, this thing worked good. I used it the other day. Niece brought over her 17 Fusion. She ran over something in the road and tore it. It's actually the shield, not even heat shield, it's the shield for the fuel tank. It actually got between it and the fuel tank, tore it down in the front, but it also had some other damage in the car. Whatever she hit was steel, and she hit it hard. But anyway, it made it easy to take off of that. So anyway, what we're doing today, Since I'm telling you the reason why I didn't get on this is because I was working plus working on somebody else's. I just opened this box up. This is a rebuild kit for this 3-liter Nissan. I have no idea how good the kit is. The eBay site that I ordered it from, I think they sold already almost 300 of them. So I thought, I don't know if it's good or bad, but to me, if he sold 300 of them, then, and I didn't see, he didn't have any really bad, reviews, so I might as well do it. So here's what it came with. I just opened this up. Came with the timing belt. Got a mark on it and everything already. It's kind of handy. Shows direction. Part number on it. I don't know if you can see it or not. Anyway. Here is part of the gasket set. Looks like water pump. Of course, it's got the seals, front and rear seal. It's got oil pan gasket. Some O-rings. I'm not sure what they're for yet. This is for, it says 90 to 92, but specifically this kit was for 94 to 95. So that tells you that there's probably an interchange in there. And then there's another set of gaskets, which I'm assuming is like head and whatnot. It's still sealed up, but I guarantee that's probably what that is. Yeah, headset. And this is 84 to 94. VG30i, VG30e. Evergreen Performance Components Incorporated. I have no idea. Never heard of them. Come with, oh look there, come with some gasket maker. That's great. Let's see, here's a open box with a tensioner. GMB, don't know if it's a good brand or not. That's the tensioner for the timing belt. Don't know if you've seen that or not. Probably not in frame. Paperwork. A bunch of part numbers on it. I'm not so sure I haven't ordered from this company before because it sounds familiar. And Mizumo, M-I-Z-U-M-O, Auto, in El Monte, California. I don't know. I may have ordered something for them before, I don't know. King bearings, woo, Kings. No, I don't have any idea if they're good or not. These are rods. I got rod bearings. These must be mains. Come on, open. You should know they haven't been opened. Yep, these look like main bearings. Yep. There's more in there, I promise. The one thing I don't have out here is I did order a set of lifters. They're in the house. I just didn't have, I couldn't drag everything out here at once. Oh, 2 boxes. I bet it must be head bolts. It came with head bolts. Here is oil pump. Also says Evergreen on it. She got this box sitting on top of a 5-gallon trash bucket. Yep, oil pump with O-ring. So I'll set that back in there. This must be a water pump. Yep, one water pump. And last but not least, in a box you cannot see that is yellow in color. I'm trying to pull it out. No name on it anywhere. Come on, sit on there nice. We have a full set of rings, full set of pins, and full set of standard pistons. just for laughs. Watch me be 100% wrong on this. That close they fit in here. Oh yeah. Nice fit. I don't know what kind of standard, or you know, how good these are. Like I said, I don't expect this thing to probably go another 30,000. I'm not saying it can't, but generally speaking, these older ones, this is a 92, I'm putting it in, you just never know. If I can get the wrist pin out of this, weight-wise, I don't think it's, I'm looking, I picked up an old piston, I know you probably can't see me. You know, I don't know how good this stuff is. This entire set you see, besides the lifters, because I had to order them separate, was 300 bucks, shipped to the house. So, pistons, rings, rod main bearings, oil pump, water pump, timing belt, and a full set of gaskets, and head bolts for $299, $90, whatever it was, shipped to the house. You know, so I doubt it's, you know, top of the line, obviously, and I know this kind of stuff's bit me before. I just decided just to give it a try. I'm not planning on keeping it, and I know nothing about these engines. I really don't expect this thing to last a long, long time anyway. With 202,000, almost 203,000 miles, the transmissions on those get weak. They end up losing reverse, for what I've read, with that automatic. I thought about keeping that 5-speed and all its components, but I guarantee when I'm done, I'll forget 2 or 3 things. It's going to cost me more to make the swap than it's worth, so the decision was made. I'm just not going to mess with it. I'm just going to rebuild this engine, put it in. My wife and I know of a 20-year-old girl that's really struggling. We're thinking about just giving it to her. Not sure yet. She's working, but people have to haul her around. She has no car. Mom kind of left her when she was like 5. It's kind of a big deal, you know, and she's kind of lost, you know, and not because of that, but just because she's just a kid. She's lost, and you can't hold all of her decisions against her every time. Most of us grow up, but I guarantee most of us were all stupid at that age. 20 years old, we're smarter than anybody on the planet, and nothing can ever happen to us. And you know, life is good all the time, and if we don't party, it's not worth it. It's just kind of the way kids are, and I was that way. I'm in my 50s. I still remember those days. Some things I regret, some things I don't. I mean, that's kind of how it works. But anyway, we don't know what we're going to do, but I need to get this thing on the road running. So I've cleaned up most of the parts. I'm probably going to plastic gauge the mains before I put this start putting it all together. I have a video on plastic gauge on it's a 5.3 LS, so if you want to kind of learn how to plastic gauge or look, I'm not going to go through it all again because I just did it a week or 2 back on the LS motor when I built it. At least on the videos, it's actually been 3 weeks for me, but because I'm still behind on videos. But anyway, if you want to see how to, if you have any, again, I think I said this on whether it's part of this video or not, if you have any specific questions about this particular 3-liter Nissan engine, it's a VG30E. They ran this engine, it's a single overhead cam. It's not the 4 cam that the 300's got, and later on I guess some of the other engines did too. It's just has had 1 cam in each head. So anyway, if you have anything specific you need to know or whatever, just let me know and I'll see what we can do. Otherwise, I'll probably bring you back when I'm starting to torque down the mains for the, you know, the final time, and possibly putting rods and main bearings in, or you know, pistons or whatever. All right. Well, for what it's worth, I got the bottom end built today. I know I didn't show any video on it, and I'm sorry. It's just, it's just kind of a fight to try to do everything at once, and I still don't have the smarts on my video editor to do the, you know, where you can kind of fast forward through it, or you know, do a kind of a time lapse. So anyway, without that, it's just be me walking back and forth, and you know, putting rings on and bearings in and stuff, and you can really see that just about anywhere I'm building engines. But I will tell you this, I took the rings out of the box and just took the middle one, the second ring they call it, and I stuck it down in one of the cylinders just to kind of get an idea how tight the clearances were, and I'm way loose. So The motor spins over kind of freer than I like. Everything else looked good, but it really needed board. And you can see the ridge up there on the top, and it really did need board. Pistons fit in there good, but the rings are a bit loose. I don't know what that's going to do. So just to make sure, because I really wasn't sure what I was going to get out of that, so I actually pulled the rings off of one of the pistons that came out of it and stuck them in there, and I got the exact same measurement. So right or wrong, it's the same as it was. Now mind you, this is the engine I never heard run. It sounded like it had good compression prior to the problems I had after I pulled the spark plugs out, which when I pulled the heads, I don't think I did a video on that, it filled it full of dirt. I didn't get enough of the dirt out, especially the cylinders in the center, which is the ones that failed on me. The one I had 0. One of them had like 170 or 175. I'd have to go back to the video and look, and one had like 140 something, and then the other one I did 2 or 3 times where I got up to like 125, 130, and one had 0. So I'm starting to take the head apart. I'm running into some problems. I'm gonna have to go get a different tool to pull the valve springs. I have the old, well, I don't know if anybody's ever pulled valve springs before, but that's the tool that I've always used and worked fine. Problem with the Nissan is they've got double springs, and this is not deep enough to go in and grab both springs. It's only grabbing the outside one. I barely got that one off, and it was a fight. And this one, because of these nubs sticking up, I can't get down there far enough in it. So I'm going to have to get the one that actually sees around and grabs the bottom of the valve and then just crushes it from the top. And I actually have a C-clamp I made for that. I welded like a 14 millimeter wrench on the end of the one end, so to kind of reach around and do it. But it's over at the shop. I could go get it and experiment with it, but I may just go get another, a tool that actually belongs on it. But I was going to pull these and put some seals in them. I had a lot of trouble getting that seal off there, and I got looking on the inside. It looks like it's actually, I don't know if you're focusing on that or not, but it looks like it's actually, the plastic's melted on it, or maybe it's stuck on there so good I broke it when I pulled it off, because I fought it getting it off. So I'm going to do both of them. Oh, and I'm going to set you down for just a second. I'm going to turn the head over. So I should have had that planned. Okay. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but that thing is really scarred up. And this is one I think was decent. And that's the intake side. Generally, it's better, but it's really boogered up, and there's a couple spots on the valve that, so I can get you focused on there. See how clean it is, and then you get around to a couple spots, like right there, you see how it's darkened up. It means it wasn't making very good contact there. And then it was like 100% opposite side, it was doing the same thing. And then it's really pitted up. I'm keeping these separate, obviously, in order and everything. I got the head upside down now, so I'll remember to do it that way. But I'm gonna have to lap the valves in. I don't even think, I may have to go to O'Reilly's to get lapping compound. They may have some at AutoZone, I don't know. But anyway, I'll deal with that later. But anyway, all the pistons are in. I know it's reflecting off those lights real bad, especially that. The light that's right there above it is an LED, and it's real bright. I've got I can get the rear main seal on, oil pan's on, the front oil pump is on. I primed it some, I poured oil in it before I put the pickup tube on it and spun it around some. The engine spins off easy. So I was going to put the heads on it, get the timing belt on, get it off of the stand, and set it on the floor and put some blocks underneath the front, kind of maybe ratchet strap it down, and then put the flywheel on, that manual flywheel in the starter, and just crank it over and do a compression check on it prior to putting it in the other one. The problem is there's several things against that don't work. The biggest one being the starter on these bolt to the bell housing. I know my light is really bad in here. So there's nothing to bolt the starter to. So that's the worst thing with this engine. I can't do that. The oil pump runs off of the crankshaft like an LS motor does. So I could try to spin the engine with an impact. I just don't think it's going to pick up. I don't want to spin fast enough. I don't have a big enough impact. If I had like a 1 inch,
heavy duty one, I could possibly put it on that nut and spin that thing around fast enough. Because there's a spot to put a manual oil pressure gauge, so I could actually check it, make sure I'm getting oil pressure, and then do a compression check on it. The problem with the compression check is if it hasn't gone through a heat cycle and you don't have enough oil pressure build up on the lifters, it could hold the valves open a tad. You're going to get a funky number. My goal though was to get even number. If it was only 100 pounds on each cylinder, then I know it's probably going to get better once it goes through a couple of heat cycles. It'll probably be up to like 120, 130, which is still kind of low, but it's good enough. I mean, you know, for this, I mean, I think it's plenty. Anything below those numbers, it's not going to start. I've had them down to 70 pounds and they don't want to start. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. Sometimes they will, depends on how loose the rest of the engine is, how good the ignition system is and stuff like that, but generally speaking, you've got to have enough compression to get them to fire. So anyway guys, I'm going to get off here and I'm going to still consider what I'm going to do to check this. It's just so much work to put it in there and find out that I'm going to have to bore it, you know. So be my own fault. I will have the engine out, the other engine, so if anything, at least I could possibly go ahead and do the bottom end of it and have it bored and have the crank turn if it needed it or whatever, and then just pull the heads off of this when I pull the engine back out. I hate doing that. I could possibly fix the heads that are even there. It's just got some bent valves. You know, and the way that's set up, it's not going to hurt the cam. So I don't think it would. If anything, the lifters, you know, might get boogered up or might bend them shafts a little bit, but you know, everything cleaned up really nice too. So really pretty happy with that. So anyway guys, I'm gonna go eat supper, and next time I come back, I don't know what I'll be doing. I may have the head apart, show you how to lap the valves in a little bit, because that's something I haven't done on this channel yet. It's not a big deal. There's a couple of different ways to do it. The old schoolers used to do it all the time. If you got the money, I would take them down and just have them done, because that way with aluminum head, it'd be a good idea to have the deck height checked. If it needs skimmed just a tad, you know, if it's a thin or, you know, level or square it up, then that's when you want to do it, when everything's apart. But I'm gonna do it myself, doing it on a budget, right or wrong. And anyway, next time you see it, I'm hoping that I'll show you that, and then start putting it back together the rest of the way.